Jones, let's come across to you very quickly. I'm seeing the Canine Search and Rescue Canines. Beautiful dogs, incredible team to work with as well, by the way. Heading towards the building. Pule, where are you? What are you seeing?
Definitely beautiful dogs. I think those are German Shepherds, to be quite correct. And what we understand is that this dog would be specifically trained to assist members of law enforcement. As you've seen, he's a canine rescue team as well, going inside there. And what will happen now is that these dogs are trained, of course, specifically to find living victims and the remains of deceased humans. And they are able to search through rubble after what we've witnessed here with this building having been gutted by flames as well. As you can see on screen, there are more coming in here. This area has been particularly cordoned off. I can't really go onto the other side, but we will try and show you those visuals. Oh, now we're being allowed to go inside. As you can see there, police officials, thank you, officer, allowing us to go in. And the police Canine Search and Rescue will now conduct their operation, Gareth. So you'd remember, yesterday, during the press briefing, we had, of course, spoken to the city manager and other stakeholders from the city of Johannesburg. And they had said that they will try and ensure that the Canine unit goes inside to try and see if there aren't any other deceased human body remains as well that they could find. About 10 bodies were burnt beyond recognition, and that's where the mortuary, or the morgue, where my colleague Bafile Morani was reporting from earlier in the morning. But it's all hands on deck, and it seems as though this operation has intensified. Preliminary investigations, of course, were said to be underway after the scene was handed over to the SAPS. The provincial commissioner, Elias Bamwela, confirmed with eNCA yesterday. But as far as we understand as well, an inquest docket will be opened by members of the SAPS. You can just see as well other officials now going in as well, just to comb for clues as to what they can particularly find here. I'm just going to try and move in as well to see if we can't move in, but I think from here onwards we will be told to not go inside as well. But this is what we're witnessing. I'm just going to throw it to Heidi, Giokos, just of course to give you another shot as well of what they're currently seeing, where the law enforcement authorities will be entering into the building to try and find clues and put the puzzle together and see what else they can see. You can see this doggy band here on screen. Gareth, of course, just wearing those equipment gear just to ensure that he does not get hurt while inside there trying to find human body remains as well, which could not, of course, have been found by officials who were here, including the firefighters.
All right, Pule, absolutely correct, Shane. They're not only adorable little four-legged friends, but the work that they put in with that Canine Search and Rescue unit, I must be honest, I've had the pleasure of working with them, not working with them, but having seen them in action a few times, and they are quite something, those dogs. We must maybe do a story on that after this. But Heidi, Giokos, I believe I'm going to come to you very quickly as well. You've got also a different angle, different perspective as Tumza Tumela Mototwane starts getting ready for Newslink. Heidi, let's come to you as I say goodbye for today. When we come back, Heidi, you'll be with Tumza.
Yes, indeed, Gareth. We are on the opposite side of where Pule is standing at the moment, and this is probably the main entrance to this building. Yesterday, we were informed by SAPS that they would be bringing in the K9 units. This was actually told to President Cyril Ramaphosa when he was here visiting the scene, and the reason for this is because this building has now been handed over to the South African Police Service for further investigation. But the reason why you are seeing the Canine unit moving in is because there needs to be a thorough inspection in terms of if there are any other bodies that have not been recovered. You must remember that this was a very intense environment yesterday. There was still some sort of fire, there was smoke. Firefighters were trying to control that on the one hand, but then you also had firefighters and first responders trying their best to recover and rescue. And then at one point we were told that it's not anymore about rescuing, but more about recovering these bodies. We do know that at one point it was 73 bodies that were recovered, and this is why the Canine is moving in at the moment. Already we did see about 2 or 3 moving in, and additional will also be moving in. It is a very big building, Gareth. It might not look that big from where we are standing, but it is a 5-story building. One must also remember that this was an informal structure that was actually inside the building as well. It's a hijacked building, so it was overcapacitated with people. But this is a very critical point of the story in terms of further investigations, but also the Canine possibly moving in to see if there are any bodies that have not been recovered, but also to see if there can be any sort of evidence that is picked up in terms of what could have sparked this fire and what could have been the cause of this particular fire, especially because we know it started on the ground floor. This must have been a huge fire, especially because of how it engulfed this whole building. We were also told by emergency services that the reason why this fire was so intense was because of the materials that were used to create this informal structure inside. There's a lot of dry walling that's used, there's a lot of cardboard boxes that are used, there's a lot of zinc that is used that builds these shacks as well. So that's why the fire was further engulfed. It seems as though all Canine unit dogs have now moved in. We saw, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 3 or 4 of them. There might still be more coming in, but there's actually one right behind me. So it does definitely seem as though they're all on standby to make sure that they have all hands on deck to move into the building, as it is a very big building. We were also told, I believe it's now Tumelo, that indeed some of the rooms were actually locked, and they were trying to get into those rooms. So that was obviously a difficulty for firefighters. We are just going to see if we can walk to a certain point to show you how this Canine search and rescue are moving in now to the building as well. As I mentioned, it's a very large building. They obviously have to have all hands on deck in terms of making sure that they thoroughly investigate and inspect this building. I actually want to ask my colleague Linge to just come to this particular point. I'm wondering if we can see anything from here, because this is an open section over here, to see if they've actually moved here or if they've gone to the upper floors. It does seem as though they might be on the upper floors at this particular point, Tumelo. I'm not seeing anybody. It's very difficult to also see here because it's a very small section where it's open, but they've probably now moved to the upper floors. The integrity of this building has been brought into question, and that was a big concern yesterday for firefighters as well, because already there were concerns around the integrity of the building, and now with the fire, even more so.
Heidi, good morning to you. Heidi Tumelo Mototwane, as we begin now with Newslink. And I just wonder, as I'm looking at the visuals, what we know so far is that the building is a 5-story building. And just after emergency services handed over the scene to members of the SAPS, clearly seeing they have taken over with ongoing investigations. Do we have timelines in terms of how long they anticipate investigations will go on for? You had reiterated a bit earlier on that the Canine dogs are quite significant in, looking for any more, recoveries or bodies or any sort of evidence that will lead to, assisting the investigation, even though EMS says they have concluded with their recovery process. But in terms of timelines, Heidi, did we receive an indication as to how long this scene will be cordoned off for the SAPS to continue with their work?
I think it's going to be a very long time, Tumelo, just looking at the extent of the damage and also how this building was hijacked. And you can only imagine what was going on here. Probably no proper ablution facilities, no proper electricity or legal electricity supply. I mean, it's a hijacked building, so you can only imagine what was going on in here before this fire started. And now that the fire has started, there's probably some serious questioning around the integrity of this building. So I suspect it's probably going to be a very long time before anything is concluded when it comes to this. There's obviously pressure from city officials to really try and get to the bottom of this. This is a huge tragedy, probably one of the biggest we've seen hit this province and this in this area, especially when it comes to hijacked buildings. Something interesting that I've noticed, and I'm wondering if you can pick it up with the camera. I'm going to ask my colleague Linge to just look at the almost the first floor that you can see with the eye. There's cardboard. It seems as though there's like cardboard boxes that are separating a specific room, and that is something that I have been reiterating time and time again. To say that when a building is hijacked, or when you have a situation where there's informal structures within a building, they use this kind of drywalling or these harder forms of cardboard boxes to separate the rooms, and that is highly flammable. So that's also probably why you had a situation where the fire became so intense and so extensive, because of the material that is used to separate the rooms and to create these informal structures. So this is important here, because now the Canine unit is moving into this particular area. We have been told that there's a possibility that the fire might have started in this area here where you are seeing. I have no idea, Tumelo, what was in here and whether or not you could have actual informal structures on this part of the section, but I suspect so because it's a very large section. So it's probably a section here where there were many informal structures here. I cannot confirm that because I don't know what was here, but it does seem as though there was definitely some form of informal structure that was happening over here. So Canine are moving in, police are moving in. As I've mentioned, this scene has been handed over to the South African Police Service for further investigations. Critical part here is Canine moving in to make sure that there is no recovery, or rather make sure that if there is any bodies that were not recovered yesterday, that would be the recovery process. Interesting, the dogs are wearing protective footgear because of all the glass and obviously all the debris that is in here.
Heidi, Giokos, as we continue to see those visuals, we'll be sure to come back to you to continue with finding out any latest developments or even updates regarding the work that members of the SAPS are doing right now. We know that, sniffer dogs, canine dogs right now assisting police in terms of finding any survivors if